Welcome to Natural English Talk.
Hello and welcome to the Natural English Talk podcast. I'm Anna.
And I'm Jake. It's good to be here.
We were talking earlier about how we measure a good day, and I've been thinking a lot about mornings, specifically those mornings that just happen.
I know what you mean. Usually, my alarm goes off and it feels like a physical weight is holding me down. I have to negotiate with myself for 10 minutes just to put my feet on the floor.
Exactly. But lately, I've had a few days where I woke up, the room was quiet, and I just got up. No big internal debate, no struggle. I just walked to the kitchen and started the coffee.
That sounds like a dream, honestly. But you know what's funny? When that happens to me, I actually get a bit suspicious. I find myself standing there with my coffee thinking, wait, did I forget something? Why wasn't that hard?
It's a strange feeling, isn't it? We're so used to the idea that doing things right requires a lot of effort. When the resistance is gone, it almost feels like the progress has stopped.
Right. I start wondering if I've just become too comfortable. Like maybe I'm not pushing myself anymore because I didn't feel that familiar friction in my brain this morning. It makes me feel like I'm standing still.
I think we mistake that heavy feeling for work. We think if we aren't fighting against ourselves, we aren't moving forward. But maybe the lack of heavy lifting is actually the sign that the habit is finally part of who we are.
It's hard to accept that, though. I look at the clock and see I'm ahead of schedule. And instead of feeling proud, I feel like I've cheated. I keep waiting for the difficulty to show up.
It's like we don't trust the calm. We've spent so much time practicing how to survive the struggle that when the struggle disappears, we feel a bit lost. We think the effort has to be loud to be real.
Yeah, and then I start analyzing the morning. I think maybe I'm just tired in a different way, or maybe I'm just going through the motions. I worry that routine is just another word for boring or stagnant.
But isn't that what we were aiming for all along? To get to a point where the basics don't drain our energy? If it feels routine, it means you've successfully built a path through the woods. The path is clear now. You don't have to cut through the bushes every single morning.
But that's a good way to put it. The path is there. I guess I'm just so used to the bushes that I miss the scratches on my arms. It's a very quiet kind of win, isn't it? It doesn't come with a trophy. It just comes with a quiet kitchen and a bit of extra time.
And that quietness is the improvement. It's not that nothing is changing, it's that the change has finished its loudest phase. Now it's just life. I felt that same sense of confusion at my desk yesterday, actually. I had this weekly report to finish, something that used to take me all Tuesday morning, and usually left me with a bit of a headache.
Those heavy tasks, I know them well. They usually require a lot of caffeine and a lot of deep breaths.
Exactly. But yesterday, I just started it, and 40 minutes later, I was hitting send. I sat there looking at my screen and I felt a bit guilty. I thought, did I actually do this properly, or am I just being lazy?
It's the guilt of efficiency. We're taught that if we aren't sweating or feeling mentally exhausted, we aren't working hard enough. So when a task becomes automatic, we stop trusting the quality of our work.
That's exactly it. I kept opening the file back up, checking the numbers, looking for a mistake that wasn't there. My inner voice was telling me that because it didn't hurt to do it, it probably wasn't good enough.
We almost miss the stress, don't we? It's like the stress was a confirmation that the work was important. Without the stress, the tasks feel smaller, even though the result has been the same as it's always been.
It makes me worry about complacency. I start thinking that if I'm not struggling, I'm not growing. I feel like I should be finding new ways to make it difficult again just to prove I'm still pushing myself.
But that's the trap. You've already done the hard part. You spent months, maybe years, learning how to handle those spreadsheets or those emails. The ease you're feeling now is just the interest being paid on all that earlier effort.
I suppose so. It's just strange to see the scary task turn into a nothing task. It feels like I've lost a challenge, but I guess I actually won it.
You did win it. You've automated the skill in your brain. Now you have all that extra mental energy for something else, but instead of using that, you're using it to worry about why you aren't stressed.
It's a bit ridiculous when you say it like that. I have 3 extra hours now because I finished early, and I spent half of that time wondering if I'm losing my edge.
We really do have a hard time accepting that we've improved. We expect improvement to feel like a big breakthrough, but usually it just feels like, well, like it's not a big deal anymore.
It's very subtle. It's the absence of that tight feeling in my shoulders before I open the laptop. I didn't even notice the feeling was gone until the work was already finished.
It's interesting how that absence of stress shows up in how we talk to people, too. I was in a group catch-up yesterday, and someone asked my opinion on a project. Usually, I spend a few minutes preparing my exact sentences in my head before I open my mouth.
Oh, I know that feeling. It's like a script running in the background while you're trying to listen at the same time. You're waiting for the perfect gap to say your piece.
Exactly. But this time, I just spoke. I didn't think about the structure or the words. I just shared the thought as it came to me. It felt completely light, almost like I wasn't even trying.
That sounds incredibly freeing. But did you have that moment afterwards where you started scanning what you said? That post-conversation review where you look for all the potential mistakes?
I did. As soon as I finished, a little voice in my head went, wait, was that too simple? Did I sound professional enough? Because I hadn't prepared, I felt like the words couldn't have been right. I was checking my memory for errors that probably weren't even there.
It's like we don't trust our own spontaneity. If we didn't labor over the sentence, we assume it must have been messy. I've had times where I felt so calm in a conversation that I actually started to worry I was being too casual or that I was missing something important.
Right. We associate calm with not caring or being sloppy, but when I looked around the room, everyone just nodded and moved on. Nobody looked confused. The message landed perfectly, even though it felt effortless to send.
That's the strange part. The world reacts to us normally, but internally we're questioning the ease in it. We feel like we should have been more nervous. If the heart isn't racing a little bit, it feels like we aren't fully present or something.
It's a bit of an identity crisis, isn't it? You've spent so long being the person who carefully constructs every thought, and suddenly you're someone who just participates. It feels like you've lost a layer of protection, even though that protection was actually just a heavy burden.
I think I'm still learning to trust that version of myself, the one that doesn't need a script. I still find myself wanting to go back and double check the recording in my head just to make sure I didn't say something silly.
It's hard to let go of the rehearsal, but I think the fact that we can speak without it means the language, or the confidence, has finally moved from our notes into our bones. It's just there now.
It's a weird kind of progress, though. It's not a feeling of, I am so great at this. It's more a feeling of, I forgot I was doing this. It's the lack of awareness that shows how far we've come. I've noticed that same thing happening with my evenings lately. For the longest time, I had to practically drag myself to do the dishes or read a few pages of a book before bed. It was always a negotiation. I'd tell myself, just 5 minutes, Jake, then you can scroll on your phone.
I know that internal bargaining. It's exhausting, isn't it? You spend more energy arguing with yourself than actually doing the task.
Exactly. But a few nights ago, I realized I was halfway through cleaning the kitchen and I hadn't even thought about it. I hadn't decided to do it. I just was doing it. And instead of feeling happy, I felt a bit unsettled. Like, where did the fight go?
It's almost like you miss the drama of the struggle. When we have to force ourselves to be disciplined, it feels like we're building character. We feel like we're working hard on ourselves. When that resistance disappears, it feels like the work has stopped.
Yeah, I actually felt like I was being less disciplined because it didn't feel like a choice anymore. I wondered if I was losing my willpower because I wasn't having to use it. It's a very backward way of thinking, I know.
It's not backward, it's just how we're wired to see effort. We think effort has to be visible and painful to count. But the goal of discipline is actually to make the effort invisible. If you're doing it without thinking, you've reached the final stage. You aren't using willpower anymore because you don't need it.
I guess I just associate growth with friction. If I'm not pushing against something, I feel like I'm just coasting. I looked at my book on the nightstand and thought, am I only reading this because it's easy now? Should I be picking something harder?
We're so afraid of being lazy that even when we succeed at building a healthy routine, we try to find a way to make it difficult again. But that ease is actually the reward. It means your brain has finally accepted that this is just what we do at 9 p.m.
It's definitely a shift in perspective. I'm used to the version of me that has to be convinced to do the right thing. This new version, the one that just puts the phone away and turns off the light, feels like a stranger, a very quiet, efficient stranger.
I think we have to learn to be okay with that version. We don't need to be in a constant state of battle to be improving. Sometimes the biggest sign of progress is simply the silence in your head where the argument used to be.
I'm trying to sit with that silence. It's just very quiet. I keep expecting to hear the old, but I'm tired, or just one more video voice. But it's stayed pretty quiet for a week now.
That silence is a win, Jake. It means you've won the negotiations so many times that the other side finally gave up. You don't have to miss the fight. You can just enjoy the clean kitchen and the extra sleep. It's not just the routines we've had for years, though. I noticed it recently when I tried something completely new. I signed up for a weekend pottery workshop, just a small group of strangers in a studio.
That sounds like exactly the kind of thing that would usually trigger those first day jitters. I know if I were walking into a room of people I didn't know to learn a skill I'd never tried, my heart would be thumping.
That's the thing. A year or two ago, I would have been overthinking it all week. I would have been worried about looking clumsy or not knowing what to say. But as I was driving there, I realized my hands weren't tight on the steering wheel. I was just curious.
Did that feel strange, to be heading towards something unknown without that familiar layer of protection, that nervous energy we usually carry?
It actually made me pause. I almost felt like I was being overconfident. I had this thought, wait, am I being overconfident? Maybe I'm not taking this seriously enough because I'm not scared. I was looking for the anxiety because I thought it was a necessary part of starting something new.
It's like we use our nerves as a way to prepare for the world. If we aren't worried, we feel like we've left the house without our keys. We've spent so long being the person who gets nervous that when the nerves are soft, we don't quite recognize ourselves.
That's exactly it. But when I actually got into the studio and sat down at the wheel, I realized that being calm made me a better student. I could actually hear what the instructor was saying because I was busy listening to my own internal static.
I had a similar moment last month when I joined a local hiking group. Usually, I'd spend the whole drive there rehearsing how to introduce myself so I wouldn't sound awkward. This time, I just showed up and said, "Hi, I'm Jake," and that was it. No rehearsal, no script.
And the world didn't end, right?
No, it was fine. But I spent the first 20 minutes of the hike wondering why I wasn't more uncomfortable. It's like there was this gap between how I used to feel and how I was feeling in the moment. I kept waiting for the old panic to show up, but it just stayed quiet.
I think it's because our baseline has shifted. We've handled enough small challenges over time that our brain finally believes we can handle new ones. The nerves haven't disappeared completely, but they've become background noise instead of the main event.
It makes me wonder what else I've been avoiding just because I expected the fear to be loud. If the fear is actually this soft now, there are probably a lot more things I could be trying.
It opens up a lot of doors, doesn't it? When you realize that new doesn't have to mean painful. You can just be a person who tries things and stays calm. It's a very different way to move through the world.
I had a moment at work the other day that really caught me off guard. My manager called me into a meeting to go over a project I just finished, and she had some pretty specific notes on things that needed to change.
Those moments are usually so heavy. Even when the feedback is constructive, there's often that immediate sting, isn't there? That feeling like you need to explain yourself.
Right. Usually as soon as someone starts a sentence with, "This was good, but," my heart starts racing. I'm already thinking of my defense. I want to say, "Well, I did it that way because," or "I didn't have enough time."
It's a natural reflex. We feel like our work is an extension of ourselves, so a critique of the work feels like a critique of us as people.
But this time it was different. I just sat there and listened. I actually heard what she was saying. And when she finished, I just said, "Okay, that makes sense. I'll make those adjustments." I didn't feel that heat in my face. I didn't feel the need to justify anything.
That's a huge shift. But did it feel right? Or did you feel like you were just being passive?
That's the thing. Afterward, I walked back to my desk and I felt a bit worried. I thought, do I just not care about my work anymore? Have I become indifferent? My inner voice was so quiet that I mistook the silence for a lack of passion.
We're so used to caring looking like intensity. We think that if we aren't emotionally affected by criticism, it means we've checked out. But maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you finally trust your ability enough that a few notes don't threaten your sense of self.
I think you're right. I realized that by not being defensive, I actually saved so much energy. Usually, I'd spend the rest of the afternoon replaying the conversation and feeling frustrated. Instead, I just opened the file and fixed the things she mentioned. It was just a task.
It's a very grounded way to be. When the ego stays out of the way, the work actually gets better, and you get to keep your peace of mind. But it's a strange feeling when you're used to the drama of proving yourself.
It is. It felt almost too easy. I kept checking in with myself, asking, "Are you sure you aren't upset?" And the answer was just, "No, I'm fine." It's an unfamiliar kind of calm.
I think that's emotional growth showing up in a very practical way. It's not that you stopped caring, it's that you started seeing feedback as information rather than an attack. You've outgrown the need to be perfect in everyone's eyes.
I think you're right. I realized that by not being defensive, I actually saved so much energy. Usually, I'd spend the rest of the afternoon replaying the conversation and feeling frustrated. Instead, I just opened the file and fixed the things she mentioned. It was just a task.
It's a very grounded way to be. When the ego stays out of the way, the work actually gets better, and you get to keep your peace of mind. But it's a strange feeling when you're used to the drama of proving yourself.
It is. It felt almost too easy. I kept checking in with myself, asking, "Are you sure you aren't upset?" And the answer was just, "No, I'm fine." It's an unfamiliar kind of calm.
I think that's emotional growth showing up in a very practical way. It's not that you stopped caring, it's that you started seeing feedback as information rather than an attack. You've outgrown the need to be perfect in everyone's eyes.
I guess I'm just getting used to this version of me, the one who can hear, "This needs work," and just think, "Okay, I can do that." It's much quieter than the old way.
It's one thing when someone else points out a mistake, but I think the real test is how we talk to ourselves when we realize we've messed up on our own. I had a moment like that this morning. I realized I'd sent a meeting invite for the wrong day.
Oh, that sinking feeling in the stomach. I know it well. Usually, as soon as I see an error like that, my brain starts a whole list of all the other times I've been disorganized. It's like a highlight reel of my worst moments.
Exactly. Usually, I'd spend at least 20 minutes feeling frustrated with myself, thinking, how could I be so careless? I should have checked it twice. But today, I just saw the mistake, sent a quick correction email, and that was it. I just went back to my breakfast.
That's a huge change. But did you have that moment of distrust? Like, wait, am I being too easy on myself? If I don't feel bad about this, will I just keep making mistakes?
I did. I actually paused and wondered if I was becoming indifferent. We're so used to using guilt as a tool to keep ourselves sharp. We think if we aren't hard on ourselves, we'll lose our standards. I felt like I was missing the punishment phase of the mistake.
I've been there. I forgot a friend's birthday last week, only by a day, but usually that would have ruined my entire evening. I would have felt like a terrible friend. This time, I just called her, apologized, and we had a great chat. Afterward, I realized I hadn't spent any time at all calling myself names.
It's such a relief when that internal voice stays quiet, but it feels unfamiliar, doesn't it? We mistake that patience for a lack of urgency, but really, what's more productive, spending an hour feeling guilty or just fixing the problem and moving on?
Clearly, fixing it is better, but the guilt always felt so necessary, like it was the price I had to pay for messing up. Now that I'm not paying that price, I feel like I'm getting away with something.
I think it's actually a sign that you've developed a more stable kind of confidence. You've realized that a mistake is just an event. It's not a definition of who you are. You can be a capable, organized person who occasionally sends the wrong link.
It makes the day feel much lighter. It's like I've stopped carrying a heavy bag of rocks just because I might trip. If I trip, I just get back up. I don't need the weight of self-criticism to stay on the path. In fact, it's much easier to walk when we aren't looking down at our feet and judging every step we take.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
We don't need the weight of self-criticism to stay on the path. In fact, it's much easier to walk when we're not looking down at our feet and judging every step we take.
It's a strange kind of progress. It's not that I'm perfect now. I'm still making the same small mistakes. I'm just not having the same big drama about them afterward. It's late now, and I was just sitting on my sofa before we started recording, looking back at the day. It's been a very ordinary day. Nothing big happened, no major wins, no major losses.
Those are often the best days, aren't they? But they can also be the hardest to appreciate because there's no event to mark them.
Exactly. I realized that for the first time in a long time, the day just passed without any inner drama. I didn't have a moment where I felt overwhelmed, or a moment where I was beating myself up, or even a moment where I felt like I had to perform.
It's a very quiet realization. It's almost like you're waiting for a celebration or a sign that you've done well. But the sign is just peace. It's the absence of a storm.
Yeah, and I almost felt like I needed to find something to worry about just to fill the space. I thought, is it okay to just have a calm day? Am I allowed to just exist without the struggle? It's hard to accept improvement when it doesn't come with a trophy or a big round of applause.
We've been conditioned to think that growth has to be intense. We look for the peak of the mountain, but sometimes growth is just the fact that the road has become flat and easy to walk on. You don't need a mountain every day to prove you're a good hiker.
That's a relief to hear. I'm starting to think that maybe this comfort I've been feeling isn't a sign that I'm stopping. Maybe it's a sign that I finally arrived at a place where I can just be.
I think that's exactly it. If your life feels a little bit more comfortable today than it did a year ago, it's not because the world got easier. It's because you got better at handling it. You don't need the struggle to validate your progress.
I'm going to try to sleep tonight without over-analyzing everything. Just accepting that a quiet, comfortable day is a win in itself. No proof needed.
That sounds like the perfect way to end the day. It's been a pleasure talking about this with you, Jake.
You too, Anna. It's been really grounding.
And thank you to everyone for listening to this episode of Natural English Talk. We hope you can find a moment of quiet comfort in your day today, too.
Thanks for being with us. I'm Jake.
And I'm Anna. We'll talk to you next time.